What are UFC fighters afraid of? Big scary Russians? No. Big scary Brazilians? No. Losing to a dude who may or may not be gay? Yes. This is Payton Talbott from Reno, Nevada, and one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. He's a fighter who doesn't conform to a real tough guy image, and I can respect that. Payton is one of the most entertaining, exciting young guys in the UFC. Pure striker, goes for knockouts, maybe a little zesty, but he's criminally underrated. And I know most people are too busy debating whether he's gay or not to recognize how good at fighting he really is. But his entire division is actually scared to fight him, and we need to talk about it. Payton Talbott is the most ducked fighter at 135 right now, and I'll prove it to you. You would think it's Umar Nurmagomedov, right? You just hear that last name and it sends shivers down your spine. Coached by Khabib, Dagestani warrior. That's the real boogeyman right there, folks. Umar destroys everyone. Bullshit. That's a narrative that Joe Rogan cooked up back in the day. All these UFC fighters, they're terrified of Khabib. They're terrified of these Dagestani wrestlers. No, they're not. We know what they're all about these days, okay? They're gonna body lock you to death. Payton Talbott is being ducked because he looks like he's in a boy band, and there's a high chance he's knocking you the fuck out, and nobody wants to risk losing to him. Is Payton Talbott being protected by the UFC and being held back, or is bantamweight genuinely just full of pussies? And it's been nearly 7 months since a Petr Yan fight, and I'm actually getting fucking withdrawals already. I need to see Petr Yan active. I can only rewatch the surgical destruction of Merab so many times, which I predicted, by the way. Yep, still stroking myself for that pick. It's been, 6 months now since Talbott beat Henry Cejudo, and he's been rejected by everybody in the top 10. But meanwhile, the UFC has made Mario Bautista versus Lockdog Oliveira, Rob Font, Raul Rosas Jr., Song Yadong versus Figueiredo just last weekend. And now Bautista again gets Cory Sandhagen. David Martinez, who debuted last year, gets to fight Umar motherfucking Nurmagomedov in his third UFC fight. Tell me that's not corrupt. I'm sorry, this matchmaking's brain dead. Just fucking fumbling careers. I feel bad for Payton, bro. He gets so much shit for no reason. Amazing fight style, deadly striker. Beat Cejudo's ass. Nobody has ever done that. I don't care what anybody says. A 30-27 win over Henry Cejudo. I'm just going to keep it real. Something that Merab couldn't do, Aljamain Sterling couldn't do, and even Demetrius Johnson couldn't do. Okay, so was Cejudo prime? No, but he wasn't washed either. The bantamweight division is in a really strange place right now, and the rankings make no sense. Petr Yan has either already beat your ass, or you have a fight booked, or you're coming off a loss. Merab's nose is currently pancaked from sparring. He needs fucking surgery. And then there's Payton Talbott, the only one available right now. So from what I've gathered, the UFC is either super protective of Talbott's career, so much so that they won't give him the fights he wants, or Cory Sandhagen is full of shit, and he actually didn't accept to fight Talbott, and instead chose Bautista, a guy he's already flying kneed and armbarred already. It's just a safer fight for Sandhagen, I get it. And look, I'm happy Bautista got the rematch, don't get me wrong, that's the dark horse of bantamweight right there, folks. But when was the last time Cory Sandhagen even had, an exciting opponent? Against Umar, he fought like he was paralyzed, scared shitless because of the, scary Russian grappling. Figueiredo is a dying old man, just goofs off out there. He's cooked. And the Merab fight, he got taken down 300 times. So Talbott versus Sandhagen was the fight to make. It's the most exciting one to make. It makes the most sense rankings-wise. So who is Payton Talbott supposed to fight next then? It's either Petr Yan or some random Apex warrior. But Payton's already fought his way out of the Apex. Now it's time for the bigger names. The UFC does this all the time. They rush fighters who they want to be prospects, who they think are marketable superstars, and leave out the actual amazing prospects like Ethan Ewing in the fucking Apex, no man's land. Song Yadong versus Payton Talbott, winner fights Merab, winner of that fights Petr Yan. That seems realistic to me. That seems fair to Song Yadong, who just got a really solid win in China. Merab needs some time to heal up that nose. The winner of Sugar Sean O'Malley and Amin Zahabi on the White House are probably going to fight Petr Yan next. So Payton Talbott is the future. Get on board now before it's too late. Let's get him some fights this year and a title shot before he's 30 years old. That's all I'm after. That's all I'm saying. Nobody wants to fight him, and they're holding up his career because they think he's too zesty to fight. And they're scared of losing and ruining their image, so I'm just gonna keep it real. So, let's go ahead and matchmake Payton Talbott ourselves. These are my takes on Talbott's future opponents, who I think he beats and who I think he loses to, but let's dive into it stat by stat. Now, the hardcore fan in me needs this fight before Sean O'Malley retires and rides off with mega millions. These guys have so much, similarities in their fighting styles. I know Payton is way more aggressive than Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley, lots and lots of lateral movement and, sharpshooter counter-striking, but Payton Talbott, guys, would make this a competitive fight, or he would zombie forward onto just a ton of counter shots from O'Malley, and it would be an absolute brawl. It'd be a bloody fight. You can't tell me you don't want this fight at some point. It feels weird, but I feel like this could be Sugar Sean's retirement fight, no? Let's say he doesn't get past Amin Zahabi, the great Amin Zahabi, and just wants to call it a career, but give us one last fun fight and, challenge the younger generation. This is a really fun and competitive striking battle, so I don't know who would win this one. Probably Sean O'Malley, but by a close decision because Payton Talbott is very aggressive and will go to wrestling if he absolutely needs to. So, give me Sean O'Malley by split decision in this fight. Merab, the Machine, Dvalishvili. I also want this fight big time because Payton Talbott's been doing a lot of work on his wrestling, right? Getting ready for these types of opponents, but I think Payton Talbott would really struggle to land on Merab Dvalishvili because all credit to Merab, he sort of throws punches like a blind person, but he's incredibly hard to hit because he's a shorter guy and he has all that cardio. He moves around so sporadically. I think Payton Talbott would really struggle to just find the target on a guy like Merab, but this fight is absolute fireworks. This would probably go 5 rounds of just Payton Talbott trying to hunt down Merab, and Merab would be shooting takedowns like crazy. I think he could take Payton Talbott down, but probably not keep him down. No submissions, I think. Tough to submit. Don't believe he's been submitted yet. And Merab is wearing a ton of damage over the years. Merab has been through some absolute wars, so maybe Talbott could catch him with a weird KO, but I don't know. This one's tricky for Talbott as well. I actually would, at this point, I would pick Payton Talbott to get a TKO over Merab Dvalishvili if he's not majorly out-grappled. I think Talbott is one of the hardest hitting 135ers right now, and Merab's nose is gone, you guys. Merab gave us a legendary reign of being the bantamweight GOAT, but with that came the destruction of his body, all right? I need to see Merab get a comfortable bounce back win before I pick him in any kind of dangerous fight like this. So gimme Payton Talbott by TKO over Merab Dvalishvili. Now, the real question is, do we see this fight before Petr Yan retires? I think we might, so I'm fine matchmaking it. I think Payton Talbott would be very aggressive early, trying to sneak power through the guard of Petr Yan. However, Petr Yan just a bit too much high-level experience. When we compare these two guys' resumes, they're really night and day. I think Petr Yan would take down Payton Talbott with his infamous, Muay Thai trips. I think Talbott's done a really good job improving his wrestling and working on his sprawl, but Petr Yan just has a weird way of taking down everybody with that infamous tricky sweep, so I think Petr Yan would probably bust up Payton Talbott as the fight goes on, but I think Talbott would be game and tough and turn this into a bit of a war and have a really gritty effort for himself. I know some people have no faith in that whatsoever, but just the way I see it, Petr Yan is way, way smaller than Payton Talbott. Talbott is actually a gigantic bantamweight, would have a height and reach advantage here and a lot more firepower, I think. Petr Yan is devastating as he builds up and, downloads that data, but I think Payton Talbott is actually the more powerful striker, but technique, veteranship, resume, fight IQ that sort of keeps you safe across the distance all goes to Petr Yan's favor, so I think it's closer than people think, but I would take Petr Yan to win. Real big shocker, but what do you guys think? As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all real soon.